afternoon. How are you doing? I hope you guys are great. Welcome back to yet another live stream. I'm very excited for this one because, as you have seen from the thumbnail to the title of the live stream, today we are going to be discussing actually why there are very many foreigners moving to Nairobi, Kenya, compared to other East African countries. So, I'm also actually using my back camera. So, I want to just of all confirm that I'm in frame, the audio is good, and everything is steady before I can discuss this amazing topic. I've actually wanted to discuss for this topic for a very long time, very long time. Also, before we continue, I'll just make sure that I connect my power bank because I forgot to charge my phone. I've been editing videos almost a whole day for you guys and didn't have a lot of time to actually charge my phone. But if it's the first time you're watching my face going on over here, hi there, I'm Tanya Shylock, Ugandan content creator, currently in Nairobi, Kenya, trying to explore out a lot of different things. When I tell you guys that the love I did get in Nairobi, Kenya is overwhelming, that is the absolute truth. It has just been amazing. 2 months in, this is my third month in Nairobi, Kenya, and yeah, the love has been really overwhelming. That at the end of the month, I just decided to take a break and not be active and uploading and all that particular kind of jazz. But yeah, I'm finally back. Please make the point that you subscribe to the channel, like, comment, share out with friends and family, and let's just dive into this topic. Now, Nairobi, Kenya is one of those places that I think it's very addictive. I've seen a couple of expats or expatriates. If you don't know expatriates, these are people who travel from especially the Western countries, Europe, America, some countries in the Antarctica, and they resettle into African countries, especially the East African. In 2015, 16, 17, it was so common for expats to actually go to West Africa, that is in Nigeria, Ghana. There was that prime time, I remember very well. There was that prime time of Nigeria shining and Ghana shining. Right now, it is East Africa, and we shouldn't be annoyed by any means. But regardless, it had its own prime time. But right now, it is East Africa. And in East Africa, I would say that Kenya is really outshining this particular thing of resettling expatriates. And there are reasons for that. And not only that, not only expatriates, but also other Africans within the African continent are actually finding Kenya to be one of those places that is very receptive to them and they can easily resettle here. Yeah. By the way, if you come into the live stream, please make the point that you like the live stream. I think the button is right here. Is it right here or right here? But there is a like button somewhere. Please, when you come into the live stream, consider giving me a like. That would be amazing. Yeah. So I want to just dive in and start discussing the points that I have for myself and for a couple of people who have been doing research about and found it why people are actually coming here. The first thing, guys, it would be, and this is actually the most prominent one, it is ease in settling in when you come to Nairobi, Kenya. So Nairobi, Kenya is one of those places that, regardless of the fact that they have Swahili, but they also have English, and people here actually speak English. So you don't have to actually be scared at any other point that people are not going to understand you because you are not a native speaker of Swahili or you have a few words in Swahili. No, people will actually understand you because people here can very well speak English, very absolutely well. Now, I come from Kampala, Uganda, and I would say that I think the literate level compared to Uganda and Kenya, I think for us we have a slightly higher illiterate level compared to people here. People here, I think the average, most of them have at least gone through primary school, and at least the biggest number have actually gone through primary school, and maybe a small number not have been able to go to school at all. So that leaves a very big gap, that not a very big gap, but actually a very small gap, that basically people here can vividly and very well speak the English language. So when you come into here, you don't have again to be worried that, how are you going to communicate? No, people here do speak the language, and you can vividly or be able to articulate your thoughts very well, and they can understand you. And I think that is one of the reasons why a lot of people come here. Myself, I don't know Swahili, but I can't go to a matatu, I can't go to town by myself, and I fail to figure out things. At least somehow, I tend to figure it out, and I can find my way in and out. of the town because I can speak English and the majority of people can speak English here. Now, the other thing that I feel like is attracting a lot of people to come settle here in Nairobi, Kenya. This has to be the hospitality of Kenyans. Kenyans are very, very hospitable people, and some of you guys actually usually reject this, or some of you guys are like, "Oh, no, Tanya, you don't have to." But this is absolute truth. I find you guys to be quite hospitable compared to some interactions I've had in the past, especially from my country, and stories of other people who have been visiting, Kenya. Everyone has something to say, but I just feel like Kenyans are trained from birth that this is how you treat a visitor. These guys know how to treat visitors very well, that you just feel so attracted to always come back. And yeah, it is one thing that always pulls me back, and wow, you treat visitors very, very absolutely well, that in case someone comes and visit, chances are very high they'll be actually coming back because of how you guys, are very, very friendly, and it is like you guys are trained to treat visitors in a very, very amazing way. Yeah. And the other point would be why I think now, since I'm here, very many foreigners are choosing Kenya over Tanzania and Uganda. We have talked about actually the language, that regardless of the fact that you guys have Swahili and other over 40 languages here, at least the majority speaks English. So that keeps people, especially foreigners, on an easy path, that in case they come in, at least they know that they'll be able to, find their way out. I've given you a solid example of myself. When I'm in town, I can't speak Swahili very well, but with English, I can vividly communicate with almost everyone and get my way around town. Yeah. The next thing, it would be, and this one, it is objective, according to, not objective, but actually subjective, according to me. But this is the culture diversity. Nairobi is one of those places, and Kenya generally, that within the East African community, amongst all the countries, they have eased their cultural kind of strictness when it comes to how things should be, when it comes to gender roles, when it comes to things of that particular line. The culture diversity in here, it is just vibrant, and you can vividly see that people are in the environment, they really enjoy doing what they want. The judgment levels are quite low, and especially when you come to the cities like Nairobi, my good lord, every person is doing what they want, every person is moving along their day, like every person is moving along their business. You don't just poke yourself, you don't just poke your head in someone else's business. That is the absolute truth. Every person is moving along their day, and no one has time to even give like their opinion about anything. And that particular kind of diversity, with a lot of ethnic groups and a lot of foreigners coming in, I just feel like it has also contributed hugely when it comes to people finding their way into Nairobi, because Uganda, I've been there for a very long time. That's where I was born, and I really know how things are there. We are quite strict when it comes to culture and custom and behavior and values and things of a sort. But when you come here in Nairobi, no. Things move on their pace according to you personally, if that makes sense. Yeah. The next point I would love to talk about, that I feel like, by the way, when you come into the live stream or when you watch this video later, let me know in the comment section below what you actually think of some of the reasons that you think why very many foreigners are choosing to come to Nairobi instead of Kampala or Dar es Salaam or even Kigali and other East African communities or these other East African countries. So personally, I would like to talk about this because I feel like it has been one of those points that will either keep me tied here or glued me down here in Nairobi or something else. This has to be the cost and the quality of living. And this one, to be specific, I want to start it up with housing and accommodation. So Nairobi being one of the developing or fast developing cities within the East African region and also Africa as a whole, there is this booming business of rental construction and establishment and all that, which has actually helped a lot to house not only foreigners but also Kenyans. And on top of that, it is quite affordable, believe it or not. It is really, really quite affordable that you can get a house at around, and this is just the starting base. You can get a house about 7,500 Kenyan shillings a month, and it's a bed sitter located in a good neighborhood, which is safe. And also, you can vividly get another bed sitter. I'm just talking about bed sitters, but you can get another bed sitter for maybe 15,000 Kenyan shillings in a good place, and with good amenities. And yeah, it is just the location where the house is, or it is just things around that might make it a little bit higher. Yeah, but regardless, what I'm trying to say is that accommodation in Nairobi, it is quite affordable, very, very affordable. Yeah. Maya just said, "Hi Tanya, hi Maya, welcome to the live stream. I appreciate you for watching. I can't wait, Maya, to actually come make a video in Juja. Yeah, we have to plan that. In case you are still in live stream, please reach out. We have to plan that so that I come to Juja, make some videos with you. That would be amazing." She's saying my network is unstable, but I'll still watch this later. Okay, no worries. Angel is saying Kenya and always mind their business. Yes, absolutely true. Kenyans with minding their business is like one and two. My good lord, you guys mind your business. You don't poke your heads in other people's businesses. And I think that is one thing that is attracting a lot of foreigners, like a lot of foreigners from all walks of life in here. Very, very many of them, like being in a community where you're not going to be judged because of how you look like, being in a community where you're not going to be judged because of obviously I'm not saying that it is the prime that there isn't judgment, because I also realize that the difference between the rich and the poor is so exaggerated, like it is so big. But regardless of that, at least the judgment level in the public, it is quite low compared to other countries, or compared to Kampala, Uganda. Like in Kampala, Uganda, customs and culture and things of a sort rule that day. But in Nairobi, I kid you not, you can wear a bikini and you can walk those streets of Moi Avenue, those streets of Kenyatta, and no one will actually give two about you. I kid you not. Because I've seen girls, I've seen boys, I've seen all sorts of things that I would consider these being out of the country in Kampala, Uganda. But Nairobians are moving along their day. Over what you are doing, what? That doesn't concern them. So it is one thing that I truly believe that it has really, really kept on attracting a lot of people to constantly be coming into Nairobi because the judgment levels are low. I kid you not, in Kampala, I've ever seen 1, 2, 3 cases where boda guys have humiliated. They have actually humiliated and almost beat up these girls who wear either tights, not tight, but mini skirts or kundi shorts. I've seen and I've actually experienced this, that there is that fear of the community going against you because of not doing what they think you should be doing and things of a sort. So Nairobi, it's quite impressive, and I'm quite happy for that for the good reasons, not for the bad reasons, but actually for the good reasons, that at least people are not that judgmental and you can go along with your day without being, you just move around and no one will just give. I love that feeling. I really do love that feeling, and I believe that it's one of the reasons why very, very many Americans and other people from other countries are choosing Nairobi, because African culture, African traditional society, we tend to have very, very quite strict laws, not laws but culture and custom, kind of things we follow. And most of these things, especially people from the West, they don't understand them. Myself, I might understand that, I might understand that, for example, if I'm in Kampala, Uganda, I'm supposed to have a bald head, because that is what the culture and moral values say, that men shouldn't grow hair. That is pretty understandable, because that is how I grew up. But now, getting an American from where they have been, or a Jamaican with all those long dreadlocks and is a man, take them to Uganda and they are moving around the streets with dreadlocks, they are going to be judged. If you have been to Uganda and you're a man and you have hair, I think you can articulate this. There's a way how they look at you. There's a way how they'll judge you even before you get into the supermarket, or before getting into the bar. If you are a girl wearing a mini skirt, wearing a kundi show, there is a way how they'll stare at you like, what is this? What is this? Whose kid is this? Where do these people come from? So I think, and also I've interacted with a couple of American friends, especially from the States. New Jersey and all that. And they say in Uganda, whenever they are there, they look at them weirdly, because of, how they appear. But, in Kenya, it is completely different. So that's the point I'm trying to put to light, that here, the judgment level is really low. By the way, when you come into the live stream, please give me a like. I think it is here or here. There is a like button somewhere. I would actually appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. Also, I have already started the live stream, but the topic is why very, very many foreigners are moving to Kenya instead of Uganda and Tanzania, also Burundi and Kigali, Rwanda. But regardless, when you come into the live stream, please give me a like. I would really, really appreciate that a lot from the bottom of my heart. But yeah, what I'm saying is that the judgment levels here, my good Lord, people don't care. People don't care. As long as you are not dying on the street, as long as you are not hurting anyone else around them, the rest is upon you. The rest is upon you. Yeah. The other point that I really wanted to talk about, I had already talked about it, but it has been housing. That the housing in here is quite affordable, basing on your budget, and you get quality for money. In case I have 15,000 Kenyan shillings, I can get a good place for 15,000 Ugandan shillings, for 15,000 Kenyan shillings, I'm sorry, for 15,000 Ugandan shillings, which equates to that particular amount of money. And it is going to be a quality house. If I go around very well doing my research, getting a good house in a good neighborhood, I'll get that. But also, in case I come in here with 7,000 Kenyan shillings, Kasamvu, that is Luganda. In case I come here with 7,000 Kenyan shillings, I'll also get a house. So that is one thing that I think also that is attracting a lot of people to come here. In Uganda, regardless of the fact that okay, the same thing might be quite similar or quite pro bono in one way or another. Okay, look quite pro bono in one way or another. But with 7,000 Kenyan shillings, you might be getting an accommodation which might be good, but you might not get another accommodation for a lesser price than that, which is really safe and in a good neighborhood. So I think you guys are getting the point I'm trying to put to light. That regardless of the amount of money you have in Nairobi, Kenya, you can still get an accommodation. Right now, I've been in Pipeline. Yeah, I've been in Pipeline and this place of Feather, Embakasi, Transami. I've moved all these particular areas and I can vividly articulate. I've made friends in here. And someone is telling, oh, Tanya, you can even get a house for 4,500 Kenyan shillings. And I'm like, 4,500 Kenyan shillings? What the hell? That is impressive. And that is something that a Ugandan or a Tanzanian or a Burundian somewhere might look at and is like, you know what, I can go there and start a life, because also the opportunities are quite many and the rent is quite affordable. Maybe when I increase on my salary, maybe I might have to shift to go to a new place. So housing in here, it is one thing I love. I love so much, that regardless of the fact that your budget is what, you can get what you deserve. Then also, linked to that, this time around didn't get a house to actually pay rent and all that. I'm so grateful for all my hosts this time around. I'm so grateful. Like, in case you're watching this and you hosted me within this journey of Nairobi, I really do appreciate you a lot. Like Gabriel, Thiongo, Wekesa, Claire, all these people. I appreciate you a lot from the bottom of my heart. So I don't have enough information when it comes to utilities like water and electricity and all that. But I've found out that also when it comes to those things, they are not as expensive. So I don't want to throw a lot of light on those, but since I haven't paid for them, personally, I don't want to throw a lot of light on them, but according to what I've heard is that also electricity and water is not something that is pretty, very, very high, and it doesn't have a lot of taxes compared to some of these other East African countries. And also I would say that the nagging of electricity. Now, let me tell you this. Back in Kampala, Uganda, I grew up along Entebbe Road, and that is where my where I rent my house right now. I grew up along Entebbe Road. Now, Entebbe Road, 10 years ago, growing up, it was the worst place to actually stay because of electricity surges, electricity fluctuation. That place would drive us nuts. And it was really so bad. Over time, they have really tried to improve. That is in Kampala, Uganda. Over time, they have really tried to improve. I won't say that they haven't. But coming to Nairobi, Kenya, comparing the surges, the fluctuation of electricity going and coming back and switching off and switching on, especially in the different places I've stayed in, it is really low. Now, I would say, for example, in Kiambu, while I was staying in Kiambu for all the 2 weeks, electricity never went even for once. Then pipeline where I am right now and along further and all that, electricity has not gone at all. Then also I would say I think it was only in Utawala that it used to go off, but it was pretty understandable because sometimes they had to pay like a token or something, then they put into the system, then the electricity read, something like that. Yeah, I don't have a lot of information on that, but something like that, just know. Then in further, electricity also didn't go as much, it didn't go as much. So in simplicity, I would say one other thing that I feel like a lot of foreigners, why they love Nairobi and particularly Kenya, some of those utilities are quite stable. There is that stability you expect, at least. There is, that stability. It is not pure because, as I told you, sometimes they are constructing, sometimes there are a lot of things going on. But regardless, the consistency of all those utilities, it is quite fair compared to some of these other East African countries. I've seen a lot of experts who say that okay, this is embarrassing to come to Uganda, but I've seen a lot of experts saying that, like here on YouTube, saying that they are in Uganda between the period, not one, that's why I'm saying a lot. They're in Uganda between the period of February and February, March, April, May to maybe June, and the electricity agencies there took them out. And I was laughing to myself and just thinking that in case someone just comes and out of they're not from Uganda, and electricity just comes on and off for all those months. Yeah, how can you attract these people even in the country? How can we even be able to host them for a year so that they can make a difference in our economy? So such things, those are the small things that I truly believe that they are really, 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 really hyping up Nairobi in simplicity, that a lot of people are actually here or choosing to come here than going elsewhere. Maybe also when it comes to accommodation, I would say if you can't find a house yourself, and I've found friends who actually can't, even myself, just because now I have, friends on ground. I've made a lot of you guys my friends, like, you guys are willing to help me. But in case you don't have even any person to help you, like there are very many credited and credible real housing kind of bloggers you can get online, and they can help you do all the house viewing either in a good neighborhood in case you want to stay in Kilimani, in case you want to stay maybe in Kileleshwa, Lavington. There are quite a number of them that are very, very credited, and you can literally go there. They help you in, they bring you along all these particular properties without even moving a nudge, as long as you have a little bit of money. Because also, I don't want you to be moving around, make people move around when you don't, going to be paying for their, transportation and all that. Yeah. By the way, when you see me looking there, I have my points listed. Yeah. The other point I really want to talk about, it is the economic hub, and Nairobi being an economic hub, and also the amount of opportunities in here. Now, comparing other East African countries with Nairobi, I would say that Nairobi's economy has really, 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 really been a great driving force for even other economies within the region. And the reason why I'm saying so is that, okay, even before I say that, do you realize that in Kenya there are very many international organizations, like very, very many international organizations. Like when I start mentioning them, I can stay here. But they are very, very, absolutely many. They have most of their headquarters here in Nairobi, Kenya. They have most of their kind of main stations here, and that actually speaks a lot. Like just UN. Guys, UN, like UN is moving some of its top branches, like not branches, but some of its top sectors to Nairobi. Do you know the magnitude that carries? Some of you Kenyans might not know, but as a person who reads and does research, I can articulate that this is a game changer for your country. This is a game changer because that speaks a lot when it comes to the economy. That speaks a lot when it comes to security. That speaks a lot when it comes to day-to-day dealership, when it comes to different things. That speaks magnitude when it comes to the economic boost within the region, and that speaks a lot also when it comes to security. I think I've already talked about security, but in case you Kenyans don't know, this is magnificent, and I would recommend you go read about this because some of you guys don't know, but this is a very, 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 very 100% very I don't even know how I can articulate this, but just know this is not a small move for UN to decide to bring. Okay, I knew that they were already here, but to bring some of these other branches in the region, hey, you don't know what they are doing to Kenya. They are putting Kenya on a map. They are just showing the world that, you know what, you can come to Kenya, start up businesses. You can come to Kenya, stay here. You can come to Kenya because it's safe. You can come to Kenya, invest because the investments can be protected. It is screaming all that. Yeah, that is the first thing I wanted to bring to light because some of you Kenyans don't know. And I realized that most of the time you don't give attention a lot when it comes. I think that is one of the natural things that all of us do. That most of the time you don't realize what you have than realizing what you have so that you can either be grateful or use those opportunities and all that. But I would urge you guys, go do the research. Yeah, I know a lot of you guys watching me are Kenyans and I appreciate that, but go do the research. You guys are sitting on gold. What they are bringing to Kenya, the UN officers, they are bring. I'm pretty sure that the country is going to start. The whole world is going to start opening up a lot when it comes to the Kenyan kind of passport and the Kenyan citizens because of how the region is really, really very, very receptive when it comes to a lot of different things. Yeah. The other thing when it comes to the same point, I would love to talk about it is the economic opportunities. Can you imagine that I'm in Nairobi? You know, I want to be very transparent with all of you guys. I don't want to be very, very secretive and gatekeeping. But do you know that I'm in Nairobi, Kenya, just doing YouTube and I'm living, you know? Regardless of the fact that I'm having a lot of you guys helping me, but I'm making a living in one way or another. It might not be a lot of money that can sustain me for, but I'm living. That is an example that opportunities are here. Mhm. I'm not out in the field, owning a job or a chemist or like working in a chemist as a nurse and things of a sort, but I'm living. I'm working on YouTube and I'm getting money. Have you ever thought of that? That only speaks magnitude when it comes to opportunities, and that is only one route. That is social media. I was doing some research about street photography, especially seeing all those boys on the streets and TikTokers, especially seeing TikTokers in Uhuru Park making videos on Sundays and all that. And I did realize that an average TikToker in Nairobi, Kenya, who is actually quite serious with their job, is making about average 20,000 Kenyan shillings a month. But 20,000 Kenyan shillings a month. Hey, if you don't know, let me explain to you. 20,000 Kenyan shillings a month in Ugandan shillings, it is 600,000. Emitwalo nkaga. Emitwalo nkaga. 600,000 Ugandan shillings. That is 20,000 Kenyan shillings. Now, if these girls and boys who I love and I adore, that they have actually found a route on how they can be able to manipulate around social media and get something for themselves, in case they can earn 20,000 Kenyan shillings at the age where they are. At the age where they are, some of them are in there. Okay, they listed between 18 to around, okay, up to 30, but the premiers they did list in the blog post I was reading was between 18 to 25 years. If they can make 20,000 Kenyan shillings a month, hey, 20,000 shillings, that is 600,000 Ugandan shillings. That is a salary for an enrolled nurse in Kampala, Uganda. That is salary for a primary teacher in Kampala, Uganda. But they're just dancing on the streets in case they can make that money. What about other opportunities out there that are not yet explored? What about other opportunities in either textile, other opportunities in agriculture, other opportunities in commerce and entrepreneurship and economics, other opportunities when it comes to white collar jobs, the health kind of field, when it comes to engineering, when it comes to a lot of things? What about all that? All that is not actually explored. I haven't gotten time to read about them, but I can vividly articulate that in case these young girls and boys around my age can make over 20,000 Kenyan shillings, what is boiling in those other sectors? It is boiling hot. Boiling very, very, very absolutely hot. So it is one of other factors. It is one of other factors that it is really, really prompting a lot of us to find our way into Nairobi, Kenya, because YouTube, I don't need a permit, like a physical permit from the Nairobi City County to be able to create YouTube videos. I don't need it, but yet I can be able to work on YouTube and get a small fee at the end of the month. Then also, in case I'm actually to come here work, the process. By the way, I want to first of all thank you very much, guys, for all the people who extended a little bit of help when it comes to the video I did about the work permits and all that, and how Ugandans can move in here and all that. I want to thank you a lot because you opened another route for me of doing research about work permits. I did understand now that work permits are completely free, especially if you want to come work in Kenya as a Ugandan. It is completely free. You just have to schedule up an appointment at the Kenyan embassy in Uganda. After they give you an appointment, make sure that you have your documents in check, your passport, yellow fever card, proof that you have gotten a job back in Kenya, and also your employer here can help you apply or file for you at the Kenyan embassy in Uganda, and they can be able to give you that work permit free of charge. I didn't know that. But I also did understand that some of the reasons that most of the time prolongs the process and why sometimes some people take longer to get that work permit. Most of the time, it might be the documentation, passport issues, initial illegal immigration, like coming into Kenya illegally, and they either capture your fingerprints or things of a sort. In case you have a particular crime, yeah, you move to Kenya, you had a particular crime, most of the time that can elongate your time of getting the work permit. But through research, I did understand that, Ugandans, many of them are actually here on work permits, and as long as you behave very well, like you don't have history of infringing on the Kenyan law, you can always get a work permit and you can always come to work in Nairobi, very well, without a lot of issues in one way or another. But regardless, where I came from to talk about this, it was surrounding opportunities. Opportunities here are very, very many. Last time I was telling you guys about the housemaid in Kenya. Housemaids are paid between 10,000 Kenyan shillings. Okay, people who are very genuine, they pay even 15,000 Kenyan shillings. But they are paid between 8,000 Kenyan shillings all the way to 15,000 Kenyan shillings and above, basing on the family that you are working for. But regardless, that is some good money compared to the average kind of salary a lot of these girls, my sisters from Uganda, usually get from Uganda. And also other opportunities, like opportunities are very, very many. Like you can come in here, as I told you guys, as myself, and you can still work without even, just being on your visa, especially when it comes to, working online, e-commerce, in case you are doing some tutoring activities on your computer, in case you are doing YouTube and whatever, you can still work very well, and you can be able to earn a living even with the stress of filing. Now, I'm talking about that was Ugandans. Now, there are other people who are not within the East African community or East African region. Sometimes they will need a visa, a work permit it is also another long process. But regardless of either way, you can even come in here as a tourist and you are actually touring, but you have your remote job. Yeah, remote job, you still attend meetings. I have a good friend. We are in Nairobi, we are in Uganda. He was not from within, but he still worked. He still actually worked very well. So you can still work. And those are some of the factors that I truly believe that are constantly attracting very, very many people, even myself, to stay here in Nairobi, Kenya. Right now, I call Nairobi, Kenya, my second home. Yeah, my second home. It is my second home. And no one should actually think about getting that title from me. Not title, but that psychology I have right now from me, because opportunities I've seen here and how people have been so receptive to me here, it is something to live for. Yeah, but regardless, in case you guys come into the live stream, please don't forget to like the live stream. It really does help a lot, and I'm always inspired that you are there watching. I can see 10 people already in the live stream. Yeah, that's amazing. I really, really do appreciate you for coming along. Also, I want to say happy October. Yes, October is going to be my last month in Nairobi for the meantime, but I'll be back in December or late November. But regardless, happy new month. I hope that everything moves on as you planned, and I just hope that you God blesses us also that we finish off the year very well. Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah, so the next point I really want to talk about, it has to be the infrastructure and the development in Nairobi, Kenya. Now, having moved Nairobi, Kenya, seriously for 2 and 10 days months, I would say that Nairobi generally, especially when you're in CBD, Upper Hill, Westlands, part of the Northlands, part of the Eastlands, most of those places are very, very well developed, and I can't really, really lie about that. That is the absolute truth. But there are also places that are actually on the contrary. There are places that are still struggling. I've been, guys, can you believe that I got an opportunity to visit Soweto? I got an opportunity to visit Jacaranda Stadium. And I was there the whole day. And this is how much I love Nairobi. Because I was like, I'm not going to only carry this particular perspective of Nairobi, like Nairobi having all the bougie kind of, all the bougie kind of bypasses and roads and infrastructure and all that. I said I'll not do that. I'll make it a point I move. That's why actually in the first place I decided to move to Kiambu. Moving to Kiambu, mind you, was quite hard. It was quite a hard decision for me to make, but I had to actually push myself out of the comfort zone because I knew that in order to appreciate Nairobi more and in order to understand really how Kenyans live and how life is on ground, I really had to move. So I got an opportunity to move to Jacaranda Stadium, to Kayole, to Soweto. I was planning to move to Dandora, obviously not recording because I've made a couple of friends there and they tell me, Tanya, that's the nightmare. I wouldn't even want you here with your phone. I would just confiscate your phone till you're out of Dandora. But regardless, I'm planning to also go to Dandora to just see, not even to record, but just see, leave my phone somewhere, my recording somewhere, just go live and see how my other fellow East Africans are living, because there are some of the things that we don't bring to light, being in the city, and as I told you earlier, on all those places, especially foreigners and people traveling into the country, sometimes you might not have the picture, but myself, I said I'll move. So Jacaranda, the day comes, I moved to Jacaranda Stadium, parts of Soweto, parts of Kayole, deep. Mind you, I moved in deep because I was not recording. I was with a group of health workers. Oh God, I'm so grateful and happy that I can be able to connect with a lot of people. So I got an opportunity to connect with a group of health workers working here through my good friend Claire, and she really, really helped me a lot to say that I experienced this life, especially on ground, firsthand. So I got an opportunity to see that. But development, especially when it comes to the middle part of Nairobi, is really, 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 really prime. But there are areas where it is not prime. It is the areas where people are really suffering with the roads, with housing, with people staying in iron sheet, single room houses. It is really not safe. Sewage is passing by. It is really not as safe. But I just hope that as a country, we can find or we can mitigate ways of being able to really help out and really empower our fellow East African citizens to be able to come on board. That was really bad. Will put that light, because in case I don't, someone might think it's only silver and gold. It isn't silver and gold, but it is raining somewhere. But regardless, for the general point, I would say that the development of the infrastructure is another point that is attracting a lot of us to come in here. When you look at the coverage of tarmac roads compared to other East African countries, Nairobi has biggest percentage of tarmac roads. When you look at the transportation system itself, regardless of the fact that you don't have a lot of money to spend on Ubers and to spend on private vehicles and private drivers, there are matatus which are very, very well organized, and the systems work when it comes to matatus. They work in circles, and all these particular circles, they are organized in a particular way that they go to a particular region, particular place, which already that is amazing to me, coming from a country where even drivers in Kampala, they are not okay. Circles are trying to come back, but it's not a big thing, and there is a lot of black magic, especially within the Ugandan drivers, taxis. I don't want even to talk about, because I feel ashamed to talk about it, but there is a lot of that bad kind of selfishness, that people even end up doing black magic to each other. And also, we are Africans, so I can speak about this, especially all of us, especially Bantu or Nilotics, we can speak about this. This is reality. In Uganda, people do black magic. Ugandans out there, let me just put you on blast. You do black magic. Yes, some people believe it is not there, but my friend, it's not until it gets you. Yeah, it is there, and Ugandans do a lot of black magic. Yesterday or 2 days ago, a friend of mine here in Nairobi was asking me, Otanya, we have heard in Kampala, Uganda, you can just move to any garden, eat bananas, peel them and leave them on the ground. Then when the owner comes, they might, say otherwise. That is absolutely true but to a particular level. Hey, you might enter into someone's garden, especially those ones who are, very, very short tempered. They will not look for you. They will go for black magic for you. The reason why I wanted to bring this is just to give you also a picture that regardless of the fact that there are very many stories here in Nairobi, Kenya. I've heard very many stories about Uganda. Some of them are not true. Some of them are not true. And very many, the biggest percentage of Ugandans, they do black magic. They do black magic. So be careful also on that when you are traveling there, to just bump into people's gardens and whatever the case may be, or just going to people's property or whatever the case may be. But where I came from to talk about this point was all about transportation. That transportation here is really, really organized. Whether you are a boy or a girl who usually enjoys Ubers, you'll get something for you. The Bolts are coming here. Matatu, you are on a budget like myself. Matatus, I love matatus. 30 bob, 20 bob. I've actually seen a trip for 30 bob. Have I seen a trip for 20 bob? I'm not sure. Oh, yeah, I've seen a trip for 20 bob. But 30 bob, yeah, you travel very well to the CBD. You are moving from Ngong Road closer to Ngong Road, they'll tell you, give me 20 bob, and they'll drop you there. Back in Kampala, Uganda, where I come from, there isn't any journey, I think now, which is less than 40 bob. Yeah. There isn't any other journey that is less than 40 bob. Mind you, 40 bob is like 1,000 Ugandan shillings, 1,000 Ugandan shillings. There isn't any more kind of distance that they can take you for 20 bob or less than 40 bob. Travel there, even though you are moving from Ambassador, you know where Ambassador is. You are moving from Ambassador to Archives. They will tell you it is 40 bob. In case you don't have the energy to walk, it is 40. They don't have anything 2010. No, they no longer have that. They increase the prices. But what I'm trying to say is that whatever format you come in, at least you are kind of altered in, and you can still be able to travel safely from one point to another. Now, that was buses and matatus. The other thing, and also Ubers. The other thing would be trains. Now, I haven't been to the SGR, but I'm hoping to actually go there probably when I come back in December. I'll definitely do that. Or even, you never know, in case you guys watch most of my videos this time around, I get some good money from YouTube, I might decide to do an SGR video, because that also is quite expensive, coming back and forth, and having to bring you quality content. It might be a little bit expensive, but in case you watch some of my videos this month, it means that I'm guaranteed to get some Google AdSense, and might do that video to just bring you along. But regardless, I've been to the commuters it is called the commuters what? I've been to the commuters train that is in Embakasi, CBD to Embakasi. I've been there. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. That was an amazing experience, regardless of the fact that initially it was quite hard. Yeah, initially it was quite hard because so I plan to do a video about the commuters train from CBD to Embakasi so that I can experience that. One of you guys had actually recommended this. I don't know if it was Simi. Someone had recommended this to me, that Tanya, you should ride the Embakasi train. So I go to CBD. No, I actually first of all go to Talanta Stadium. So I got an opportunity to explore Talanta Stadium. That video will be coming out probably in 2-3 days from now, after the old videos are actually out, because right now I'm trying to push all the old videos out since I've been on a break. I haven't been creating as much. But regardless, from Talanta Stadium, walk to Ngong Road, get a bus for 30 bob to CBD. Then I said, oh no, Tanya, someone recommended you should check out the Embakasi train. So I go to the Embakasi train. It was around 2:30 or something like that. Then I reach there, ask the guy, the security guy. Then he tells me that, you know what, Tanya, you came in quite early, so you have to either move around a little bit so that the time can go by. And after it goes by, then you can either come back, and check-in time starts at 4:15 Kenyan time. So I move around, go to my favorite Quick Mart. Guys, Quick Mart and Naivas, I think I'm falling in love with Quick Mart. In case I get an investor, I can be able to I can be able to read to him a deal very well, convince them. I can tell them to open up the quick mart in Kampala, Uganda. I love Naivas. I have no issue with Naivas. But I would say that quick mart, they are quite organized. They are quite organized, and I love that for them. So I go to my favorite quick mart. Whenever I'm in CBD, one of these days I make sure I visit that quick mart just near to the bomb blast. It is just that side near the bomb blast. Yeah. So I make it the point that I go there, visit the place, visiting the place, get some drink, move around as I burn some time. So I go back to the bus station, to the train station. Initially, paying the ticket was also hard. So that's the only thing that initially I was annoyed of. When I reached the train station, they were telling me that now the person who's responsible for M-Pesa is not around. So Tanya, you have to wait a little bit. So standing there, people were just coming in, passing by. And I asked someone within that station where we are seated, and he told me that, the best thing to do always is to make sure that you have some hard cash on you. Make the point that you always have some hard cash, because with hard cash, it is not as hard as having M-Pesa, because the systems have really changed around this particular place. But yeah, I did ride the train from CBD to Embakasi, and that train was amazing and it was cheap. For the same price, it would go for around 80 bob. 80 bob evening time to ride from CBD to where the place I was coming to, my friend's house where I am right now. It would cost around 80 bob. Yeah, it would cost around 80 bob. But that thing was only 50 bob. 50 Kenyan shillings. I'm so sorry for the internet. I don't know what is happening to the internet. I'm just realizing right now that it's quite flimsy, but I don't know what is happening. But I just hope that you stick around and it can clear up. Initially, it was working so well. I don't know what is happening, but regardless, transportation, that's where I was. Trains, I have tested them, especially the ordinary trains, 50 bob, regardless of the fact that they are old, but it is something that I can vividly move around with. It was not so bad. Yeah, it was really not so bad. And what else? What else? What else? I've tested trains, I've tested matatus, Ubers. What else? I haven't been to the water, so I don't know how ferries and any water transportation is. But regardless, what else? What else? What else? I think in simplicity, that is when it comes to transportation. Air, 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 air. I had forgotten to talk about air transportation. So, Nairobi is considered one of those hubs for good air kind of transportation, and it is the absolute truth. You guys, I was in Utawala, I was in Feather, and also here where I'm in Pipeline. I can vividly see how many planes are flying off that JKI airport. There are very, very many planes flying off that airport. My good Lord. Very, very many planes. And mind you, in May, while I was coming to Nairobi, I did use air transportation. And I would see how the systems did work in there. Forget about right now that the JKIA, I don't know why my networks are misbehaving. My good Lord. What is happening? Anya Doga, who's bewitching me? Regardless, people, my African, Ugandan kind of family ancestors, family members don't want me to be great in Kenya. But anyway, I'm kidding. What I'm saying is that forget about right now that these guys are striking at JKIA and all that. While I used that terminus in May, it was really very good. It was really very, very absolutely good. The systems really worked. Waiting at the airport and having your yellow fever card checked within no time, having your passport stamped and less questions. Like, systems were moving on quite well. And also, you would see that the airport was busy. My good Lord, that airport was really, really very busy. It's just so recent that Entebbe International Airport in Kampala, Uganda is becoming busy. But that JKIA, by the way, JKIA is in this direction from where I'm seated is actually in this direction. It was quite very, very busy, very, very busy, and people were just moving in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. Yeah. So, and I also actually seen Uganda